Hello world, welcome to the stream. This is coding a roguelike in C. I'm going to be working today on building, or continuing to build, smart hallways, which are the future of our dungeon. We're into the middle of trying to lay out our hallways more intelligently, so that we don't have like 20 different hallways going into a single room and making it look like a sliced apart mess. So we are trying to optimize our hallway layout so that we don't have duplicate hallways between rooms. So let's jump into the code. I already started a little bit off stream trying to determine how to fit. If you remember last time, we were very close to having our hallways be smart enough. However, for hallways where we basically have a 90-degree angle where they turn, so like there's a room here and then a hallway and a turn and then a room there, for those types of hallways it would essentially just draw the one part, and so it would be a hallway to nowhere and it would look a little ridiculous. So we need to account for having hallways that have a turning point. So what I've done is I've added, instead of having just a start and an end, I've added the ability for a hallway segment to have a midpoint, which we may or may not use. So I've also added a flag that indicates whether we're using it or not. I can't just, since this is a struct, I can't just set it to null, and I can't set the room points to some like negative value or anything because they're unsigned integers. So I think this will be the way we'll go for now. So then, since we've changed our segment structure, what we need to do is modify our get segments algorithm. And so what I've done is I've moved, before we were calling get segments for a horizontal segment, and then we were calling it for a vertical segment, and we were determining the midpoint outside of this routine, but with our new algorithm, we're going to move the determination of the midpoint inside the function. So our from and to points are going to both originate in each of the rooms that we want to join. And then we will determine how we're going to get to the destination room, either going horizontal then vertical first, or going vertical first and then horizontal. So so we're setting our midpoint in here, and then I think we need to move our step function. So right now I'm trying to figure out a good end condition here, because we're looping while done, and before we were just checking if we were at our destination point, but now we need to check. Maybe I do 2 loops. Maybe that's just the easiest way to do it, but we may not have a, let's have a midpoint. So I think what we will want to do, we could just start it by having 2 loops to begin with. So the segments, let's see, we're going to be joining, we have a new room. So we're still going to be adding segments on our way there. So what I need to do is have the concept of an unfinished segment. To the next cell. Okay. And then at our midpoint, we're going to change our step. Okay, so we also need to change the step when we hit our midpoint. Change step. Don't need to redeclare it. Just need to reset it. Okay, so when we hit our midpoint, I think so far, let's say we're moving horizontally, we chop it up into segments, we're adding our segments as we go. We're continuing to move. Oh, I need to change is. To also set this. So what we need to do when we hit our midpoint is we need to record the fact that we have a... Hey, Askandra, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. How's it going today? So when we hit our midpoint, we want to record a partial segment. So we want to set we want to have a segment, and I think let's do this. So I'm going to copy most of that, but I'm going to take this out of the loop because this needs to be, this needs to be way out of the loop. Because we will only have one turning segment for our entire path. Interesting if that turn is inside of a room. Then we would actually want to draw... Alright, this is tricky. And I'm actually going to set this to... We'll only allocate memory when we're going to use the turn segment. That's how we'll... Hey, D3AM. Is that, how's it going? Roguelike games are the best. I agree. They are fun to play, and they have a lot of really interesting algorithms and stuff going on under the hood. And the thing that I like about them, that I'm hoping to have a lot of fun with here, is I like seeing all of the different systems interacting and some of the behavior that emerges from all of these procedurally generated systems and AIs and all of that. Sometimes you just see totally unexpected emergent behavior, and it's a lot of fun to see. So thank you for joining. We are just, I'm about, I think this is day 14, so we're still working on map generation, and right now I'm working on smart hallway layouts, trying to optimize the way that we're laying out our hallways so that our maps look good. Alright, so when we hit our midpoint, we need to check if we're in a room. Because if we're in a room, then this whole midpoint or segment with a midpoint is irrelevant. So if we're in a room, our room value will not be -1, not negative exclamation point. Okay, else we hit our midpoint and we're outside. So record a partial segment. So I need to think, what did I call this? Called it mid. How do I back? There must be a way in Sublime to jump back to where you just were. Alt minus. Sweet. All right. So start is going to be our last point. Mid, instead of setting end to our current, we're going to set mid to our current. And end is not going to be, we're not even going to set it right now because we're not there yet. And I'm also going to do set has midpoint equal to true. And we're not in our 2 yet, so we're not going to set that either. But we need to allocate it. So turn segment is going to be back. Size of a segment, we'll allocate some memory for that, and we will need to remember to free it later. Alright, so we've allocated a turn segment. It's now not null. We've set up the first part of our data, which describes the starting point to the midpoint. And now that we're at the midpoint, we're going to need to change the step to reflect the new direction. So oh, you know what? I wonder. Was I sending a direction before? I was determining. Let's see if. Okay, so it determines the direction again. So now instead of from and to, I need if. Current. Basically, I need to set my from. That's what I need to do. Set a new from. So from now becomes our current point, which is our midpoint of our segment. Public roadmap besides the task list. Yeah, I probably should do that. The task list is actually pretty long, if you, but I should probably publish that somewhere. Maybe I will put a link to. I'll put it up somewhere, and then put a link to it in the notes below or something like that. That's a good idea. But basically the overview, dungeon generation, the next thing we're going to work on is monsters, just putting monsters, NPCs in the dungeon, which will lead to a couple things. Combat, it'll lead also to, I want all these monsters to, I don't want to hard code any of this stuff, I want them in config files so we can change them, so it'll be some file management, including file to save the game in progress, and then AI for the monsters, combat, all that fun stuff, and then we'll go on to items and inventory, and UI, menus, screens, splash screen at the beginning, main menu screens, that sort of thing. And right now, it's all ASCII based, the UI, but the way that I've built the tiling and the usage of our ASCII fonts and characters, it should be trivial at the end to be able to swap out our ASCII tile set for a graphical tile set and just kind of see what that looks like. So you can play truly old school if you want old school ASCII mode, or you could have the option to drop in a tile set and have it look more graphical. So that's the rough high-level roadmap, but I'm going to put that up. It's a good idea. I'll put it up somewhere and link to it. All right, so if we're in a room, then we want to behave just like we still want our turn. So we still want to do this stuff. But we actually want to add a full segment instead of just a partial segment. So we want to duplicate this. And we'll generate the entire segment and add it to our list. Yeah, if you're interested in that stuff, hit that follow button. I try and stream several times a week, usually in the evenings, but on weekends sometimes I do it during the day, like today. But if you hit follow, you'll get notified when I go live. I usually post to Twitter before I go live as well, so it'd be great to have you along for the ride. Okay, so check to see if we're in a room. We are in a room. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. So we're in a room. Setting current to current, I think that's right. Yeah, okay, current room is valid. If we are not in a room at our turning point, or our midpoint, we're going to record a partial segment. What we need to do is we also need to... Ozhar, thanks for the follow, I appreciate it. How long did it take me to learn C? Well, that's an interesting question. I'm still learning C, which is part of the reason for this project. And I've kind of limited the scope for this initial project because it is more of a learning project, both a learning in terms of the algorithms involved in roguelikes, as well as just learning C, or getting better at C. So I have a rudimentary knowledge of C. I've done C coding in the past, but I haven't done it in a while. In my day job, I do mobile development, so I do a lot of Swift. I do Objective-C, which is C flavored, and some Java as well for Android development. But I enjoy C. Yes, there's just something about being a little bit closer to the metal and seeing exactly what's going on under the hood and being able to control exactly what's going on that is at times incredibly frustrating, but also pretty cool. So I am still learning C, and if you see me do something really stupid or ill-advised while I'm coding in C here, feel free to shout it out. And if you're interested in learning C, I recommend, I always have this handy, my C Pocket reference from O'Reilly, which is a really useful one. And then another great O'Reilly book that I've read a couple times now, and I keep refreshing my memory. It's called 21st Century C. So a lot of the C books that you'll find are like, it's like, here's the classic one, K&R, but this was written this is the second edition, and it was last updated in 1988. So it's good for old school C, but old school C is there's better ways to do it now because we've had C99 and we've had C11, I think, a couple updates. So check out this 21st Century C book. It's also by O'Reilly, and that'll give you an idea about some of the more modern idioms for C programming these days. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to indicate that that this one does not have a midpoint. We're not using the midpoint, and in this case we're setting it has midpoint to true, but these other ones where we're not using a midpoint, I also need to remember to set that up properly. Just want to verify that it has midpoint. Yes, okay. So then it was Alt minus to get back. Okay. Yeah, C is really good if you want to learn about how computers operate at a much lower level, and what some of your higher level programming languages might be doing for you. So even if you learn C and you never use it during your day job or even on other projects, it's good to learn it because you'll be a better programmer for it, whether you use it or not. Is HTML a good place to start for basic programming? For basic coding? Well, HTML isn't a programming language. It's a markup language. which basically adds markup to data that something like a browser can use to lay things out properly. Although HTML these days doesn't really even include layout information, that's all done in CSS. So HTML kind of designates what different data is intended to be used for, so like the body of a document or the header or different titles. If you're looking at like starting programming, learning your first programming language, I would recommend these days, I would probably recommend Python as a good start. The nice thing is that the download is pretty easy and it's got an interactive interpreter. So basically you can sit at a command prompt and type commands to see what they do in Python. You can write little code snippets. So yeah, I would check out. I know a lot of beginning programming courses start with Python. I would not jump right in with like C++ yet. And JavaScript, you could do JavaScript. However, JavaScript behaves differently enough from other languages that if you're looking to expand and learn a bunch of other languages, JavaScript may not be the best one to learn first. That said, I know that like Khan Academy and that sort of thing has a JavaScript course. So, I mean, you may want to check it out. It's nice that the nice thing about JavaScript is the only thing you need to program it is like a browser and a text editor, because you can just load the code up in your browser and see what it does. But browser compatibility, JavaScript has some issues as well. So, I guess Python or JavaScript for dipping your toe in the waters to begin with. And actually, if you want to do like mobile development, Swift is a really nice language. They've come a long way in a short time, and they've borrowed lots of good bits from the other languages, and so it's the code is fairly succinct yet powerful. So you may want to give that a look as well. And Apple's documentation, they have a free like Swift programming guide. If you go to developer.apple.com, you'll be able to find some stuff there, and it's a pretty cool language. All right, so we've got our new segment. We've set it up properly. So now what we need to do is when we have a midpoint and we have a turn segment that's not null, we need to handle that situation. So we won't enter this point anymore. So the next time it's going to be called is if we hit our endpoint or a different room. So we're looking at these two cases, and what we need to do is we need to check, instead of just creating a new segment, we need to see if we already have one that we've started. So if, what did I even call it? Partial turn segment. So if our turn segment is not null, we want to finish the turn segment, complete our partial segment. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and do and add this bit. So to complete our partial segment, all we're going to need is turn segment end, right? And that's going to be our current. And then we're going to need turn segment our room 2, which is the room that we're in. So that'll be room. It's just my own project. So the GitHub repo is available. You can fork it. You can play with it at home if you want. I haven't decided. Nobody's really asked that question yet, so I'm not against pull requests. So if you do something cool and want to send me a pull request, I guess that's cool. So yeah, I guess I'm open to pull requests. I may or may not include them because I want to, as part of this project, I want to build all this stuff myself, so that I learn it for myself. But if a pull request is totally clear and I can learn from integrating the pull request, then that's cool too. Remote failure, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. But as I said, this is kind of a learning project, both for me and I guess for whoever wants to follow along or follow along beside me. The code is there to be used, so. I think I even have it in the show notes, like if you see a better way to do something, or if I'm doing something that's not good C, or not if there's a better algorithm for doing a certain thing, I mean, let's explore it. Alright, so we're completing our partial segment, and then I've already set has midpoint, so then I can just do list insert, and I'm going to insert it into our segments list, and L means we're just pushing it onto the list, and then I'm adding turn segment. So we don't need to deallocate it because the list needs that memory to be deallocated. But what we are going to do is we are going to, now that that's on the list, we're going to clear out our pointer, set it to null, so that because we've completed this segment. There's a thought that ran into my head and ran right out. There was a case, like an edge case. Oh, so do I need to set current room? No, we set current room. So if our turn segment, so also we need to add that case here as well. In this case, we're at our endpoint, so done is true. Bail. But in this case, we have a new segment. This code is going to be the same. Let's grab this. So in this case, we are outside of a room, or we've encountered a new room. So we want to complete our partial segment, add to it to the list and clear out our segment. Yep. We have a new segment between. And we're going to set our current room, our last point, to current and move to the next cell. I think that's what we want. So yeah, so what's calling this again? Let's just make sure that our breaking the proposed hallway into segments. Yeah, we're just sending it R from and R2, and then so now that we have the segment. Oh, so what we need to do in our segment, deduping shouldn't need to change because we're just comparing room from and room to, so that shouldn't need to change. But what does need to change is our carve segments. Which is where we're actually carving out the hallways. So what we need to do now is be smart about this. We need to account for the segment that has both a vertical and a horizontal piece. So if our element is E, okay, let's do this. I need both correct, I believe. So I'm going to grab a pointer to the segment. And then I'm going to say if seg has midpoint, we need to figure out which way segments go, but the else case is easy because it's the existing bit. But instead of this, this becomes seg. I am using Sublime text. Is correct. I've fired up Atom a couple times so far. Atom, for me, since it's all written in JavaScript and in a browser, it's at least on whenever I've used it, it takes like 5 to 10 seconds just to start, and that's an immediate fail in my book. But I know that there's lots of plugins for it, and so that's nice. But Sublime Text fires up really quick and has lots of plugins, all written in Python, so I can hack my own if I want. So that's what I go with. Yep, it's definitely slow. Okay, so the logic for drawing, if we have a midpoint to deal with, is, so let's see, we need to determine, it's basically just duping this stuff twice. In the simplest case. And midpoint is perhaps a misnomer. It's actually not necessarily the midpoint. It's a turning point. Am I using any external libraries? The only external library that I'm using right now is SDL2 to be specific, and I'm using it so that I get the cross-platform graphics support, basically giving me a pixel buffer that I can render into simple way. And then I'm using it for the cross-platform input handling, so keyboards. I also may or may not put together handling for like a controller or something like that. For roguelikes, I don't think a controller necessarily makes sense, but if I want to do that, I can. But SDL2 is the only external library that, I'm sorry, that's not true. I'm also using the STB_image library. Sean Barrett put it together. It's a single file library. So there's one file it's a header file that contains the entire library implementation, and I'm using that to read my PNG files because I'm not interested in parsing out the ping format, and Sean's libraries are really awesome. So if you're looking for some straight up C libraries that are efficient and have been used in a lot of handmade applications, check him out. He is, I think his GitHub is Nothings2. I'll have to dig it up, but just look up Sean Barrett, and I think it's 2 R's and 2 T's in Barrett. But he's like a awesome C coder. But I'm purposely not using any libraries that have roguelike functionality because I want to learn all the algorithms involved in that. So I'm purposely not using those. Something like libtcod. And I'm just gonna do this in kind of a brainless way for the moment. Just draw both. Okay. Setting in turns my ways, draw both parts. So first I'm going to draw from start to mid, and then I'm going to draw from mid to end. C looks exciting. Yeah, I mean, going from JavaScript to C is it will be a bit of a shock because there's just a lot more memory-related things that you need to handle in C, and C doesn't come with a lot of I'm not going to say it doesn't come with a lot of tools because there are a ton of libraries that you can use. So if you're but there's a lot. You need to think a lot more about memory management, which in JavaScript you don't have to think about it at all. But it's again, you'll be, as I said before, if you learn C, whether you use it or not, just learning it will make you a better programmer. So, half Python, write database code for reporting. Yeah, Python is a really good interpreted language. Python's a great language. Unless you need to do web development, I would, and specifically web development inside of a browser, I would just stick with Python for now. Because Python, there are frameworks. If you need to do web development, and put together web pages, check out Flask. the Flask framework for Python. It's really good. Any good lectures for C? I don't know. Right? Any good lectures? I don't know. These days, to be honest, I learn by by watching people code on Twitch for one thing. That's really cool. I watch people that are better than I am and come away with a few new tricks each time. But in terms of learning the language, I would say get a couple good books and then just try building some stuff. Because that's the quickest way you're going to learn the language. If there's a series on the web, it's called Learn C the Hard Way. There's also a Learn Python the Hard Way. This guy puts together these courses where you essentially learn a language by starting with very simple programs, and then each program illustrates a different part of the language. So I would check those out. I think they're now behind a paywall, but it's like $25 or something. So it's like it's half the cost of like a C book. And I think it actually comes with videos now too. So that would be my recommendation. Yeah, Zed Shah, he's awesome. That's who it is. So he did it. I went through his Python course, and I went through about half of his C course, and I totally recommend it. So it's called Learning C the Hard Way. You didn't like that towards the more hard time? Yeah, well, yeah. So it'll get you. It's a good start. And then depending on what hard topics you are interested in, Google is your friend to either find published books or web guides. But I was showing before, I use this 21st Century C by O'Reilly. O'Reilly has a lot of good books. And then I have my little pocket reference from O'Reilly for C. Those are usually pretty good. But for some of the harder topics like this, I've got old school like algorithms with C, and yet another O'Reilly book. But this book is I think it's like from the 90s. Yeah, it's 99. But it's still relevant because it deals with, instead of dealing with language fads or anything, it just deals with the algorithms and how to implement them in C. So that doesn't really go out of style. All right, so I think we're now drawing our midpoint segments appropriately. So maybe we should just throw this into a. Let's see where we're at. Got a couple errors, so got an undeclared identifier. Yeah. Try this again. S is undeclared. Oh, yeah, dir. Because I'm not using S anymore, I'm dealing with turn segment. That's why I copy paste. Gotta be very careful with the copy pasta. Okay. Alright, well that was it. Okay, so now I'm gonna launch the game. Yeah, O'Reilly's really good. The other book publisher that I like is Pragmatic Programmers. It's pragprog.com, I believe. They've got a lot of good stuff. And then Addison Wesley is also good, but those books are expensive. All right, so let's. All right, so we've got an issue, which is illustrated. Oh, it looks like maybe we've got an infinite loop somewhere, because it's not even popping up an error. Trying to launch that. So let me throw that into a debugger and see what we might find. And fire up Visual Studio here. Okay, let me show you that. And now I'm going to launch the app and see what try and attach to it and see what we can find. I'm going to hit pause because we're not hitting any breakpoints. I'm going to break it myself. Okay, so let me make sure that you guys can see this. Oh, okay, so it is showing good. So, we are in room containing point. Let's see where we're looping. We're looping through map get segments. So I'm guessing that we're not accounting for some point, and we're never hitting our done condition. Because the only time we hit our done condition is if we hit our end point. Just right here. So let's just step out of here and see what we've got. Oh, let's do this. Okay. So where are we? Yeah, look at our Y value in our current. We are way off the map. So we must have hit a condition where things are not well. I'm going to, let's see, can I force this to be done? It's R2. $60.22. Currently at, oh man, we're like not even close. Alright, I'm gonna force the end state here, I think, so that we can see what the next loop's gonna be. Room are we in? We shouldn't even be in a room because we're like way the hell off the map, so. Turn segment, is our turn segment null? That's a good question. It is, so we didn't hit a turn. Segment, so we're going to add it. Our start and our end are 3/8, 60/22. Yeah, we should never have a 2 -1 with our new scheme. Alright, so we're done. Fallout, the loop. Alright, where are we? Is this like our first segment, or it's our second, size 2? So we went off the rails right away. I'm gonna, I don't want to draw this, so I'm gonna set E to, I can do this. Yep. Oh, gone. Oh, I still hit my loop. Because I didn't do it quick enough. How does you say that? Okay, anyway. Now my E's off. Can I jump to here? Yes, awesome. I like this debugger. Except how am I back here? I was jumping. I didn't jump to the point I actually wanted to be at. Okay, so here we go. Continue. Okay, so there's the... Here is our map without hallways, because I basically stepped out of all that hallway stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initiate another map regen so that we can see what's what. But I didn't set a breakpoint. Dumb. Yeah. I wanted to set a breakpoint. I did any of that stuff. Sure, why not? Let's see, we can't be in any more trouble then. Apparently we can. Alright. Let's restart. Let me figure out where I want my breakpoints. Oh. Why am I in my list code? Hold on. This one. Map generate. Get segments. This is where I want it to be. Here. So unfortunate. Not hitting that, huh? I can hit that. Okay. Oh yeah, I need to set my done. Set it right here. Can I do? Now I want to jump out of my code entirely here. Okay, so I've got my map now. I'm going to gen. And so now I'm coming in here for the first time. So what do we got? We got our current point is, well, what's our from and our to? From 6611 to 3124. So what we did is we generated a midpoint of 6624, which looks right. Yes, 6624. So we're looks like we're going vertical first, and then we'll move. So midpoint, you know what? We never two. Do we ever hit this midpoint? We must, at some point. Have to hit it. What's our step? Step is 1, right? Because we're going to move from 66. Wait a minute. You know what? This should be mid. Because we moved to our midpoint first. We're moving to our midpoint first. That is the problem. I think we were setting our initial destination point wrong. It was set to our actual end point instead of our midway point. Current is still from, that's right. So now we should be hitting this midpoint, and once we hit the midpoint, we're going to set from to current, but we need to set, so then we would use our 2. So this is okay to determine our step. And I'm gonna stop debugging, and I'm gonna stop the game. And I'm gonna hide this. So did I not save this in Visual Studio? I didn't. Save it so that we can see it. Okay, now we got our midpoints here. Still infinitely looping. Ew. Where's my game? Where'd it go? Oh, did it end? It died. Okay. It died on itself. It's even...
Do not leave me.
Alright.
I love you. I hate you. I love you. I love you. Hate you. Love you. Love you. Love you. Hate you. Love you. Hate you. Love you. Hate. 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 Love you.
Alright, so I still have my breakpoints in here. Let's see if I can start this up in an appropriate time. Oh, okay, so it hit my breakpoint right away, and where are we now? It seems... Alright, room is 0. Our current is 5722, and our midpoint is 5722. So, okay, so I think we're maybe just stuck at our midpoint here, so let's see if this logic is right. So room is not -1. We're actually inside of a room. Hold on, I gotta... Give me 1 second, I gotta go check a text. Alright, sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so let's see where we are. We're inside of a room. Inside of room 0. So what we're going to do is we have a new segment here, so we're going to allocate that. We're going to set start, which is our last point, 5720, which should be our 5722. Just have rooms that are right next to each other. Current. Wait a minute, our current room is 0. If our current room is 0, and then, yeah, this is not, I need to add a check here that we're, to do this, right? Yep, that's exactly what we need. So if we're at our midpoint, well, crap, let's see. Yeah, I still need it. Because we don't want to add, if our current room is the room that our midpoint's in, we don't want to add another. So but let's see what's still going on here, because we don't want. It's for the moment. Great. I gotta remember to make that change. Do that. Quickly jump to Sublime so that I don't forget to do that change. Can't see this, but I'm just applying that change to our mid. Oh, it is there. Okay. So I'm setting room 2 equal to, which is just the segment is. We don't ever want a segment that is from one room to itself. That's just a waste. So let's see, what I'm interested in is what happens after that. So we set our new from, and from is just going to be current. So in from is current. Current is our 5722, which is our midpoint. Going to figure out our horizontal and our step. So our 2 is 2522. So to get to 2522 from 5722, our step should be negative. And it should be horizontal. Yep. And so our step when we finish should be -1. So it's doing that right. Now we're not done. It's going to do iRoom. Going to figure out we're still in room 0. And now our current stuck at our midpoint. That's the problem. Stuck at our mid. So in addition to determining the step, we need to apply the step. Did we not hit this? It's current. 5752. We did not. Oh, yeah. So, for some reason I thought that was inside. That's what we want. We also want to move to the next cell after we set our... What's going on, Visual Studio? Frozen? What's up? What's up with that? Right. I'm going to... Okay. Hide that. And jump into Sublime Text. So I want to move, copy this, and after we set a new from to the next cell, so because we're getting stuck on our midpoint, and we're never stepping off of it. So build, and it builds, and let's see what our game looks like. Oh, still not success, but they were incrementally getting there. So I got a hard stop in like 5 minutes, folks. So if we don't finish debugging the stream, I'll just continue on the next one, which may or may not. I may be able to get another stream in later today, but just take it up again next time. So where are we now? Current is way off the rails again. Alright, from 3430 to 6915, 6930. One. None of them? How is that possible? How do we hit none of those? What is my midpoint? 6930? Maybe if the midpoint is in the current room, that's a fail. It's definitely... So if room is not negative, I think we move this here. Because if we hit our midpoint, we definitely want to turn. Whether we add a new segment or not is a different matter. Yeah, so this is correct. If the room is not, if we're in a room, and that room is not the room that we're last is it in, then we have a new, truly new segment, so add it. Otherwise, we don't want to hit we don't want a partial segment in this case. So this needs to be a separate. This needs to be a separate test. So if our room
Turn it on.
so if the case this just needs to be can I so if room is not equal to current room, that's we want it. Just want to nest it if because we still want to sublime text. You're failing me here, man. What's going on? Okay, game. It's really so it's like doing wacky things with memory. Kill it. Kill it. Sounds... Sorry. Let's save this out of here. Sublime text. That's why none of my Sublime text key bindings are working, because I wasn't in Sublime text. Alrighty. Might be time to step away from the code. But I want to finish this last bit. So, okay, so if I am inside a room, then I want to do an additional check that that room is not the current room, because I only want to add a new segment if that room is a different room I've seen. However, if I'm not in a room, I still want to do this. And then regardless, if I hit my midpoint, I want to set the new from, change my step. So, still can't kill this game. So see if Task Manager will take care of it. Let's end that task. Well, that's pretty epic. I've never seen. Kill Visual Studio. Because if I can't, if the game. Alright, there, my game's cleaned up. Okay. Alright, so I've built it, and let's just give it a... What? Look at that. What? Oh, we still have... What is this? What is that? That's a hallway that goes nowhere. We have another one up here. So I think, well, I mean, it's closer. It's closer. So I think that I'm going to call a halt at this point, and we will revisit this. I think next time to debug. I'm going to put in some code that actually limits the number of rooms, because right now it's going to be tricky to try and step through the various cases. I'm also going to, off stream, I'm going to step through the code, not in a debugger. I'm just going to stare at the code and kind of step through it with the different conditions that could happen. Let's see. Yeah, we still got... And then this is a room. These are two rooms that aren't even. There's some rooms that aren't even joined here. So we've still got some issues. We don't have truly smart hallways yet, but we're getting there. So if you want to catch next stream, I'll continue working on the smart hallways. If you'd like to be notified when that happens, hit that follow button, and I will. Then you'll get a notification when I begin streaming. I also am on Twitter at PDCodes. Let me put the screen. At PDCodes, hit me up. I also post there before I go live. Archives of previous streams are on YouTube at that link. And then any questions or comments, hit me up on, as I said, on Twitter. The source code, someone was asking about that earlier. You can grab it from GitHub at that link. I will do another commit immediately after I stop streaming here, so I'll commit today's changes so far. Feel free to grab that source code and play along at home. So thanks for watching. I appreciate the new follows. I'm glad you guys decided to join me on my quest to build a roguelike. And we're getting there. Hopefully hopefully we'll get those hallways hammered out. As I said, by minimizing the number of rooms, I think I'll just have it generate like 5 rooms and then see what the algorithm does in different cases, and then it'd be easier to step through a smaller number of rooms and a smaller number of hallway segments so that we can really figure out which edge case is tripping us up. So I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks.